Assalamu alaikum again. Welcome back to the last topic, the last session of day one. Welcome back to all the participants, and welcome Dr. Jeannette Vos to this session, to the International Teacher Leadership Summit. Okay, I am delighted to announce that Dr. Jeannette Vos has joined us in the International Teacher Leadership Summit, and I'm very thankful to all the participants who have joined us back again at this time. I think that the things that all the strategies that we have learned, you are now applying it. You are going on the track of self-management, and you are self-motivated to join the session again at this time. This shows your motivation, your leadership skills, the motivation to learning. Okay, so allow me to introduce Dr. Jeannette. She is the learning consultant to many companies and schools, researcher and co-author of the international bestseller book, The Learning Revolution. She has trained thousands of people internationally on self-learning and coaching methods through tools such as accelerated learning, integrative learning, conceptual learning, deep learning, high performance method. She has trained the diverse group of people throughout the world. So having lived in many countries, she has trained almost like a diverse group of people, and she's now here with us today to enlighten us, share her experience, and just us with her talk. So over to you, Dr. Jean, and welcome to the International Teacher Leadership Summit. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And first of all, I would like to thank all of you who sponsored this training. I think this is so important because the world truly is in crisis and education is in crisis. And you are doing a big part to change this. So thank you for helping to change the way the world learns. And I would like to thank everyone who is listening to this from the various countries, Bangladesh, South Africa, Pakistan, India, Malaysia, I think. Just welcome to this presentation. And if I am speaking too quickly, please let me know. English is not my first language. So I understand if you have a second language that you are trying to now use to listen to me. So I will slow down my speech, and if I start to talk too quickly, please let me know because I would like you to be able to hear, of course, what I'm saying. So yes, I need to start the slides, and so can you put those in, or do I have to put this in now? Can you hear me?
You may put it yourself if you want. Yeah. You can share your screen.
Okay, so share slide. Okay. Okay. So my presentation is how to accelerate self-learning ability. And I have been working with the idea of self-learning for many years. When my book became a bestseller, I started doing workshops overseas, and I began to realize that parents and educators were hungry for ways to motivate children and how to have children be self-motivated and self-managed and use all of their creativity for learning. So you've already given my bio, but I have been doing a lot of research on this, and it does come from the neurobiological sciences, and certainly quantum physics and a lot of the cognitive sciences. So it is very much supported by all of the research. So, first, I'd like to begin with the definition of learning. And knowledge as we know it is acquired through experience and study and being taught. A lot of times, however, knowledge is forced on us, especially in the traditional kind of education. So, what is self learning then? It is not forced, it is the innate ability to learn. It is personalized, it is self directed through choice. It is connected to the whole web of life. So, I will be talking today about the brain and the mind. They are not the same. So, self learning is really using your brain, but also using your mind. And your mind is a much more expanded sense of, of understanding and knowing. In fact, it's a holistic view. It's a holistic view of the mental, the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, and the social, all of it working together. And the idea is to do self learning together. We need each other in our world today. We really do. I personally feel so privileged to work with a team of people. And I feel so privileged that you all are sponsoring this workshop or yeah, this online training, because we need each other to create a better education. And I really thank you if you are one of the people that is trying to improve the way the world learns. So imagine a future where students and teachers can be self-learners. When I started teaching many years ago, I was not really allowed to be a self-learner. The educators who were running the district, so to speak, were telling me exactly how to teach and what to put up in my classroom. And my students had to stand in the row when they came into the classroom. And when they came into the classroom, they had to sit in desks that were facing me. And I basically had to do what I call chalk and talk. And that was considered good teaching and good learning. The world has changed. We recognize that students don't learn best that way. Sure, forced learning has some privileges. Yes, there is a little bit of learning, but it's not deep learning. It's not self learning. So, what is self learning? Where we have students and teachers working together. It's the love of learning. It's creativity. It's play. It's imagination. It's choices. It's connection with each other. And of course, it means the body, mind, and spirit working together. That's how we can accelerate our self learning ability. Now, that word accelerated is really a misnomer. It actually means that you go back to learning as if you are a child. I have a grandson, he's 4 years old, and I watch him because I love to see his innate way of learning. And I know that his brain waves are actually slower than my brain waves because when you're a child, a very young child, you're in kind of a theta state. They don't know that they are in a theta state, and that means they are really in a hypnotic state. And that's why it's so important to be careful how we're teaching young children from the ages of birth to age 5. They are in this theta state. And then they go up to about an alpha state from about age 5 to age 8. And then, yes, their brain is working a little faster. And as they get to about age 12, then they're pretty much at that state that most adults are, which is in that beta state. But the ideal way of learning is actually the alpha state, and even sometimes that theta state, where we are like a child playing, like Einstein did. Einstein played with his imagination. So, how can you accelerate self learning ability? You can do it by building your brain, and you can do it by nourishing your mind, literally nourishing. So let's do some of these exercises where we can build our brain, even where you are today. It's evening, it's 9 o'clock at night, a little later than 9 o'clock. Let's create some brain growth in you. We know that when you do physical exercise, you can grow your brain. And if you're ever tired as a teacher, you know that if you do something energetic, then you create energy. And the same thing with your students. When you allow them to become energetic, you are giving them a chance to start the learning process in an excited, motivating way. So you can change their mood, you can change their emotions, and you can change their state. If they're just, oh, I'm so sleepy, then you can just rev them up again. So, what I'd like to do right now is click on some music, and I will move my chair and show you something that you can do in your classrooms. And actually, you can do it in your personal life. When I'm nervous and I had to speak to over 1,000 people, I went to the restroom and I did some of these exercises in the restroom so that I was going to be more centered. So I'm going to play some music and show you that you have a midline in your body. And when you cross this midline in your body, then you are centering your brain. You have a right side of your brain and a left side. And when you cross, such as touching your knee and crossing that midline of your body, you are then becoming more centered. And then you do the other side, the right side. And so this is a centering activity. So I will play some music just quickly. And please stand up and do this wherever you are. The kisses of the sun were sweet. I didn't blink. I let it in my eyes. Like an exotic drink, the radio playing songs that I have never heard. I don't know what to say. Oh, not another word, just la 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 la. Okay, so I was crossing the midline of my body. And I do this with students usually first period of the day and sometimes during the day. When I'm doing workshops, I do state changes many times during the day so that the students become self-motivated and they recognize their state. If the students are not allowed to work with their own states, then we are doing forced learning. But when we allow the students to create their own state and even notify the teacher when they need a state change, then we are asking, then we give the opportunity for the students to be a self-learner. Now, parents and educators need to do this too. And so when I work in China, I see a lot of parents and teachers doing Tai Chi. That is a main activity. And they do it in the park. And it's a very wonderful way of crossing the midline of their body so that it centers their brain. Another way to build the brain is with music. Quality music builds the brain in all its parts. Quality music like this, it integrates the emotions, the memory, language ability, cognitive decision making, and you can use music to anchor. So what do I mean by anchor? An anchor is actually an opportunity to reinforce something that you're doing or something that you want in your life. So, for example, if you are sad or sleepy, but you want to anchor a positive energetic state, then you repeat that state that you want and you activate it. We just did that with that particular piece of music. And so if I use that piece of music again, that would be an anchor. The same thing with this music. This music that is playing right now is actually an anchor for me when I feel like I need to just settle my nervous system and become resourceful in my teaching or in my study or in my researching. I anchor myself to this music. And my daughter also did that when she was in high school. She started a piece of music like this. And then when I heard that piece of music, I knew that she was going to start her homework. So it became an anchor. Music lessons are also important. And when I was a child, I did take music lessons, and I thank my music teacher. I would walk for her for to see her for 5 miles because I wanted that lesson so badly. And of course, now we know that giving a child an instrument is so important to build the brain. It builds intelligence. So schools that are cutting out music, they are losing a huge way to activate a brilliant child. That's really what they're doing. Music is so important. But of course, the kind of music is important too. So what is important for teachers and educators to know is that music uses the whole brain. It's not just one part of a brain, one section, it's the whole brain. They have done studies from the University of Irvine with music, and they have been able to light up the brain as to where this music is activating it, and they have noticed it's everywhere. So music is very much bilateral. It activates your right side and your left side. It's a healthy way to get activated. So when I work with teenagers, I often do start with rock music when I activate them the first thing in the morning, because that's a lot of their life. And that's also a way that I can gain rapport with them. And it means that I have a relationship with them. And so I try to use their music and go to their world. But then I try to bring them to the music that is well researched, like what you just heard. And that music is the music that settles your nervous system and helps you to learn more quickly and easily. And it actually started from the work of Dr. Georgi Lazana from Bulgaria, where he used music like you just heard to accelerate learning of languages. So, another way to build the brain, self-learning together. When I first started teaching, I had to force my students to sit in straight rows and to listen to me. But when I learned about the research, I had to challenge the schools where I was teaching that really students needed to be able to get up and work together in the classroom and talk to each other. And so when I work with people in workshops around the world, there is a lot of activity of self-learning together. It's not just me talking. In fact, if you were with me in a real setting, you would be doing some of this talking today. Right now, of course, I'm doing a lecture, but I prefer to have all my participants talk to each other, and I would give you a prompt to where you would talk about something, and then we would just activate what is really happening in your brain by talking to another person or even a group. Also, the building the brain happens when we do work alone. There is importance to that. So having a space for yourself, and some of the teachers that I have visited in San Diego, there's a special high school there, but the high school also has a elementary school. You can see a little child there on pillows and working alone in the library. And in New Zealand, where I used to live, there are students working on computers by themselves. It's sometimes just important to work alone, and I myself like to have just quiet to be able to work alone. And then to build the brain, healthy food. Wow, that is so important. What is real food really? Real food is nature. Nature right from the bush, right from the garden. The other, the other is really just an experiment that we are doing to ourselves. I visited a school in Poland that teaches healthy eating, and you can see here the children are fixing food. It was such a delight to see these children. And I teach my students, wherever they are, how food is medicine. Drugs are not really the most important thing for your body. Sure, maybe in an emergency, but it's really the foods that are raw, that are living foods. Those are the foods that are cures for your body. And as you can see, there are many fruits here and vegetables that you can use to heal your body. And I'm a firm believer of this. I started eating really healthy about 30 years ago, and it changed my life. I was born in a war situation in Europe, and my parents were they struggled. I came from a poverty situation, and also when I moved in Canada, it was just difficult to find good food. And I had to learn later on in my life that it was the foods from the garden that change your life, that heal your body as long as you live. And yes, this kind of food is junk food. Unfortunately, it's the standard American diet, and it's terrible. And so this pizza there, my sister asked me the other day, "Do you eat pizza?" And I said, "No, I don't eat that kind of pizza anymore. I now make my own pizza with cashew cheese." And so if you want to know some information on this, you can let me know how to do that. So this is my typical breakfast in the morning. It's a smoothie made with all kinds of vegetables, about 15 vegetables and fruits. And then I also add a little bit of protein powder, but it is a vegan protein. Um, I believe that plant food is the best for your life, for your health. And I don't have to worry about the COVID. I really do not worry about the COVID virus myself, because my diet is very, very pure, and I eat from God's garden. So what can I say? Okay. Then building the brain, very important for learning. And you have to sleep. When I go to some countries like China, a lot of parents think that they have to make sure that their children stay up studying until 11 o'clock at night, and then they have to get up in the morning at 5 o'clock. Oh, I tell them, please let your child get sleep. That is when the brain is doing its cleanup job. Your brain needs to have a chance to get rid of the debris. And so taking time to have at least 7 to 8 hours is really important for us as adults as well. And now let's go to the mind. We have to nourish the mind. As I mentioned earlier, the mind is really not just your mental ability, it's your physical, your social, emotional, spiritual, physical, everything. It's that star. It's all of you. It's your holistic sense. And here's a school that is using gardening. It's a school in China, and they are using gardening as a way to mold the mind with joy and meaning. So it's a lot different than sitting in a desk listening to a teacher. Here's another way to nourish your mind: challenge, but not stress. And yes, even if students are doing physical activities like playing ball, or in this case, snowboarding or skiing, or boarding on the ocean, the surfing, they are learning. Anytime you do physical activity, you are building the brain. Anytime. And if you really want to keep your brain sharp as you age, you have to do exercise. You really do. I do it every day. I do a good 1 to 2 hours, sometimes more, because I have to keep my brain sharp. And I do not want anybody taking away my brain power. And the important thing about learning is that you challenge the students and challenge yourself too. On the one hand, there's the chronic stress. On the other hand, too much boredom. And so you look for that sweet spot in learning. And you also look for that opportunity to have a state change, as I mentioned. Sometimes I need a state change to stay challenged. I get away from my computer and I go outside for a walk. And then when I come back, I am more challenged again. So it's not about staying challenged for 4 hours straight. It's very important to have these state changes. Sometimes I like to go for a swim and then I come back to my work. And again, I challenge. So it's about staying out of that chronic stress. And it's the same thing with having your students in your classroom. Do not just lecture to them for hours and hours. Instead, have state changes. An 8-year-old has an attention span of about 8 minutes. That's it. So do a state change every 8 minutes. Something that will change their state. Like, now talk to your neighbor and tell them what you just learned. And that was a state change. Or just get up and do some cross crawls and do some brain gym so that your brain starts to be sharp again. The other way to nourish the mind is to use the arts and the science for learning. It's important that we include the arts. So I use music in my teaching, and sometimes I encourage students to use music in their learning or use art. In this case, this is a mind map, and Tony Buzan was really the inventor of mind mapping. He is the late author of mind mapping. He is no longer alive, but Tony certainly contributed to the field of education in a big way because he helped people to see that we can think visually. And when we put that on paper or on computer, it helps us to clarify our thinking and have deeper thinking. Here's a student from China. She is the daughter of one of my proteges in China, and she was a failure in school. And then when she started to do mind mapping and all these self-learning activities, she became a top student. In fact, she got a scholarship to go to France. Now today, she speaks French fluently, Chinese, and English as well. Another way to nourish your mind is to coach children to love and respect. The brain works best when we allow people and each other, and even including the animals in our world, to live in love and respect. It is damaging for a child to see animals being handled in a cruel way. Research is now showing that this impacts the thinking of children, that violence is okay. It is not okay. But then when we are doing it to animals, they think violence is okay. So here's a school in Dubai. The coach is coaching them with love and respect and kindness. It's so different than just doing okay, now obey me. And this is the way it is only. Instead, it is about getting students to understand why they are doing what they're doing and creating meaning in their life. It's all about creating meaning. That's how you self-motivate. Too much love never spoils a child. Children become spoiled when we give them presents instead of presents. And that's a really important part. A lot of children in the world have too many toys. They just need us. And I notice when my grandson is talking with me, he is looking to see if I am looking at him. And children are made readers on the laps of their parents. I believe that you don't have to do flashcards with little 3-year-old and 4-year-old children. I have never done flashcards with my grandson. He is not a reader yet, but he has memorized all the books. So he thinks he's reading, which is okay. It's a way to begin, because when the child thinks they are reading, then they realize it's about comprehension. It's about creating meaning and understanding instead of just word by word kind of reading. So there is a place for word by word, of course. I am a reading specialist, so I know it's important to do that. And I would always play a lot of reading games with children, with having a lot of fun, so that they would learn the words. Like, for example, snapping your fingers and rhyming, like the word cat. Can we rhyme with cat? Cat, bat, sat, fat. And then we would create a song with it. Things like that. And pretty soon we were learning phonics that way. And then, of course, you create meaning once you put it into sentences. Nourish your mind also when you are learning together. Now, here's a workshop in Cambridge, UK that I did with many people from different walks of life and from countries all over the world. The gentleman with the beard is actually a medical doctor. And I'll never forget him, because when I did an activity on molecules, we acted it out, and he jumped out of the window when I explained that we have three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. And he became a gas. He enacted it, and he jumped out of the window. And there was a security guard that was walking next to my classroom at Cambridge University. And he couldn't believe that one of my students jumped out of the window. And so he came to my classroom and he said, "Dr. Vos, what is going on here?" And of course, I had to explain. We were enacting the three states of matter. We were pretending, like Einstein, we were pretending that we were the three states of matter and acting it out. And finally, nourish the mind through self-learning at home. And here's a picture of a young lady, a young mother with two children, having some sort of a treat at home, and another mother just loving their child and having joy. Whenever you have joy in your home and in your school, that's when learning takes place. When there's a lot of stress, it is not, it's forced learning. It is just a little bit of learning. You're learning no matter where you are, but the kind of learning with joy and meaning, that is going to get the self-learning activated. And Einstein even said himself, he says it's about combining the play, combining it, because he played, and he played an instrument as well. So I'd like you to just close your eyes right now, and I would like to read this to you as you close your eyes, so that you can put this deeply into your mind. This is a way that you can also teach your children to become self-learners, to program their, their mind through creating slower brain waves, and actually having them go to their alpha state or their theta state. So just close your eyes and allow yourself to go to that theta state or alpha state, so that this goes deep into your mind. The world's most sacred trust, our children. There is no duty more important than ensuring that their rights are respected, that their welfare is protected, that their lives are free from fear and want, and that they can grow up in peace. This was provided by Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the United Nations. A big thank you to him for such a beautiful poem. Thank you for closing your eyes. So in summary, build your brain by physical exercise, music, self-learning together, self-learning alone, just taking time to be alone sometime, have that state change, healthy eating. Even today, I have water on my desk because I need that for my healthy eating. Lots of water for the synapses. I think children should have a water bottle on their desk, and of course, recycle that water bottle. And a little bit I have to drink that is nutritional, which is a herbal formulation, so that in case I had some sort of a sugar spike, then I had something available for myself, and good sleep. And nourish the mind, make the world your classroom. So when my grandson comes over, the world is the classroom. I take him wherever I can. And I believe teachers can do the same. Even going for a walk around your school classroom, bringing the flowers inside your classroom, bringing nature inside, helping children to take care of animals, to be kind to animals. Challenge but not excess, stress, study tools for success, coach children to love and respect, and have time at school to do self-learning together as a staff, and have time as a family to self-learning together. And so I think the dinner table is the time to do self-learning together, asking children, what did you learn today? And teachers, when your students leave the classroom, always say to them, what is one thing that you learned today? So that when the parents have their self-learning together at home, the parents will then hear from them something that they learned. And the reason that sometimes children don't think they are learning is because they are enjoying it so much, or they're completely turned off, either one. So I always make sure that before my students leave the classroom, they have to tell me one thing they learned. And if they don't know, okay, then let's see, what did we do today? Is there anything that you learned from that? So I do this with my grandson too. And of course, I did this with my own daughters. So welcome to the self-learning revolution, to prepare your future the way it learns. And I work with many, many countries. Here are some of the countries that I have worked with. And this is a picture of my work in Shenzhen, China. And these are some of the workshops that I will be doing online, or presentations online. And also there will be my associates joining me for some of those as well. And these are the books that are coming soon. I am very close to publishing some of them, so stay in touch. We have a website that has just come up for the Self-Learning Revolution. I do have another website that is listed on your, hopefully on the program that you have. You're welcome to connect with me. And I do have several ways to connect. LinkedIn, Facebook. I don't have the Facebook on there, but I'm on there. And then these particular websites. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you, and just go for it. Go for it. Play with learning. And I welcome your questions now.
All right. I must say that I think you gave us reminders that we should work on.
Thank you, Dr. Jeannette. I would like to have a copy of your book.
Okay, the new books are not out yet. I will keep you informed.
Fareen, let me just, I have a question also for Jeannette. Yeah, Jeannette, I would really love to have a copy of your upcoming book, because that is whatever you just discussed. It's something very, very close to my heart too. And that is what actually I'm trying to create an awareness in Pakistan, that our children need to know themselves and who they are as persons, and follow their intuition, follow their souls to reach and maximize their potential. So I have this question: what level of mind consciousness we have to reach to be spiritually connected to ourselves, mind and connection of the soul, as well as our spiritual connection with the universe, with everything around us, where you can actually sense and feel what is like. Some people are sensitive and they feel this, that they say that it is spring in the air. So they are actually sensing it, they're feeling it. So can you just elaborate on this, that how do we know that we are actually spiritually connected?
Well, I think, um, yeah, there are many ways. There are many ways to do this. One way, of course, is to just be quiet. Just be quiet and sit in nature. And another way is just to close your eyes and be grateful. Just name what is a blessing in your life. Just name some things that you are grateful for. And the other thing would be the connectedness. Um, just talking with a person or smiling to a person so that there is love coming from you. So important. So many people are so sad in the world. They're so angry in the world. And you just want to give them some love. And what we know from the spiritual connection is that we actually have energy around us. And that energy is actually conveyed in an energetic way to other people. So I'm hoping, even though with internet, that you're feeling a little bit of my energy of love for you.
Yes.
My heart is just, wow, this is amazing what you are doing.
Actually, I'm very, very happy to connect.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm very, very happy to connect to you, Jeanette. You see, that is what I feel.
Oh,
We are energy, and it's all energy around us. Everything around us has energy. And then that is why we can sense and feel that energy, whether it is positive or it's negative.
that-
And if we actually tune into the vibe of the environment, we are able to benefit, or we are able to conquer it and utilize it for our own benefit.
yes.
In the same way, we transfer this energy to people and humans around us. And you're very right. We say Mother Earth. Why do we say Mother Earth? We say Mother Earth because Earth is like a mother, feeding us, providing us sunlight, everything. And so we have to take care of the Mother Earth
Yes.
to get the positive energy that we need to nurture our souls ourselves. So this is what I've been trying to explain to, and I'm really happy that whatever you just shared
Good.
uh, helped
Good.
me to
Yes.
actually reinforce what I think and what I have been saying to people on the basis of my own intuition and understanding. Ji
Yes.
Fareen, you want to say something?
Yes, there was one question in the chat box. Are we taking questions for her? Is Shravya?
Yes.
All right. So there was a question for Dr. Jean that how can we control the anger in children?
How can we control the
Can you
anger?
highlight, how to deal with students' anger or maybe children anger? Yeah.
Yeah. So there are many ways to do that. I have seen classrooms where a teacher has a desk that has nice books on it, and there's a phone next to it so the teacher can call the parent. But the child is basically having time out. I think the more we can get away from punishment, the better. Punishment, punishment programs the brain. That's, when we are. I grew up in a culture that was always spanking children and punishing children, and then when I started doing the research, I began to realize this is not the way. This is not the way to help children grow up. We need to do it with love, but with critical love, so that first of all we do need to explain to children what is happening, but another way to do it is to to help him divert from the way he or she is feeling to something else. Now, something happened yesterday with my grandchild. He wanted to ride his little bike to the car. His mother picked him up. Now, his mother was in a hurry, and she said, "No, you cannot. You cannot. We need to go home." She was in a hurry. And she picked up that bike, and she did not want him to ride on my patio to the car. Now, you can't argue with your children, my daughter, right? But I did say to her, I said, you might want to divert his attention. And then her thing was, well, Mom, he just has to learn to obey, that kind of thing, right? So yes, there is that part where there has to be a framework of this is the limit, of course. But I think that a lot of times, as when I'm with my grandson, there are times when he starts getting angry. And then the first thing I do is change his attention, divert it to something else. And in a classroom, I always have a state change. When a child starts acting up or they are starting to act boring, it's time for a state change. I, I tell them, let's have a state change. And let's pretend right now, if we're little children would be, let's pretend that we are going to be butterflies. Let's get up and I play some music. Let's be a butterfly. What would it be like to be an elephant? Oh, we can be an elephant. And then, I might have some music for elephant. There's a piece of music that's about baby elephants. So I play that music. And so with little children, you can do so much improvising. With older children, it's more that I have to use rock music. Let's have a state change. And yeah, I know that in some of your cultures, you don't believe in dance. I don't really call it dance. I call it brain stimulation if I do this kind of thing, So what I have students do is to lead it themselves so that I'm not always the one that's leading it. And the idea for a self-learning classroom is to give your power away and not to be the power figure, not do what I do only. No, it's really about I'm only your guide. I'm your guide. And let's talk together.
Let's do
Yes,
it.
let's
Yeah.
talk together. What would you like to see in this classroom? How do you think we should manage our classroom? And that's how I begin the year. Same thing with my workshops that I do. I always say to the audience, what do you want to learn? And let's put it on paper. Let's put it on a big piece of paper. We'll put it on the wall. Let's put it, will someone come up and do the computer for me? Would you put it on my computer? Everything that you say is important. How do you want our classroom to be? So then when a child is angry and acts up, let's make a state change, have a negative corner in your room. So I have a place in my classroom or in my workshops where I hang a jail suit. And I go to that place. So I get out of my space that I am right now. I move to that space where my jail suit is hanging, and I ask my students to come there too. And the student say this student is acting up. Okay, quickly, everyone, let's go over here. We need to have a talk. Something has happened here. Someone is if it's many kids getting upset, we have to deal with it. And now I've had this happen in a classroom, and I've said to them, boys and girls, these are teenagers, young women and men. We need a state change. I want you to just go outside, run around the building, have a state change, please, and come back, or let's have a break. It is now 10:15, and in 15 minutes, please be back in the room. So again, you're giving responsibility to be back in the room. Now, I've had it where students come back in the room late. Yeah. And so in one instance, I was already teaching, and some of the students were back and others were not. And so I'll never forget, these students were, we were doing a lesson in creative writing, and all of a sudden here comes the rest of the students, and they were soaking wet, and they were, of course, very hyper. And I said, what happened? Oh, the boys threw water on us. Okay, let's get over here. So I sat them down on the floor, even teenagers. I sit them down on the floor, and I put on my jail suit. I actually put it on. I said, we need to go back to the beginning. This is what you said you wanted to do. This is what you said you wanted to learn. Now, this is how much time we are wasting. I don't think I have time today to cover what you want me to cover. No, I don't. And every day we set goals, every day. And I told him. And then one student said, "Oh, Dr. Jeannette, please, can we do this? I came here because I wanted to have your knowledge with this and this," whatever she said. And then, of course, other students were looking at her and, yeah, I want that too, And so she said, "We're willing to give up our break." So they did. They gave up their break. But of course, I gave them state changes.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting and interesting practices. And I can actually relate to it because you were talking about the rules of the classroom. Instead of putting a rule chart in the classroom, I have tried this as well. That in the start of the year, I have asked my children to make up their own rules, and when they break the rules, I'll point out to their own card that you have made this rule and now you're not following it. So yeah, it's actually it's making classroom fun for them and giving them the opportunity to lead the classroom and to lead their learning as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. Oh, I'm so happy to hear what you're saying. Oh my goodness, yes. And at the end of my classes, the students they are hugging me. They say, "Dr. Jeannette, I have never been able to write. Now I can write." Things like that. Yeah.
And it really gives a teacher a feeling of accomplishment that when students say that, yes, I did it because of you. So it really gives the teacher the motivation to grow, to teach them more.
Yes.
Okay, we have one more question. We'll take this last question. And okay, there was a question that how do parents need apply these strategies? I think that in the same way that how teachers are applying, parents can also apply these strategies. Exactly. What do you say, Dr. Jean?
Yes, I think parents can do the same thing. I think the thing that I forgot to tell you is that feedback is so important on a regular basis. So same thing with parenting and teaching. Always asking for feedback, asking parents at the dinner table, how do you think everything is in our family? What do you think can improve? Letting it come from them. Do you like it when we are all eating together? And if the child says no, I don't like it, then okay, so maybe we can have one night a week where you can eat by yourself. Would that work for you? So you're always working with what works, but the idea is to bring the family together. That's always the idea, and to bring the class together. Yes. And you can always tell if the class is together by the level of responsiveness that you get. So I always begin my class with a come-in song. And if the students are not all participating with this brain gym kind of thing, if they are not participating, then I know I either have to change the song or I need to do something more exciting to get them going. And usually the way that I get them going is to let them lead, like you're saying. Let them lead the brain gym activity. Yes. And the same thing in the family. They can do it too. I play little games with students with a kush ball, and in a family, you can do it with a salt shaker or with a pepper shaker. And whoever gets the pepper shaker, whoever is holding it, gets to talk about what happened today. And everybody gets a chance. And when you put the salt shaker down, somebody else can grab it. And you don't have to have the salt shaker. If you don't want to talk today, that's okay. So it's this level of permission to be who you are. And as a child, if the child says, Mom, I just don't feel like doing this activity today at the family dinner table. I just don't think about it. Well, fine, you can pass, no problem. Daddy and I will talk about what we did today, you know. And I call it think and listen. Or there's a game that the Indians in the United States, it's called Indian stick, where somebody has the stick and whoever has the stick talks as long as they want. And that means no interruption. So that is so good for parents to just listen and not interrupt. So good. And that is the way
Interesting.
parents and children come together, and also teachers and children come together. It's not about the teacher being here and the students here. Same thing with parents. Yes, the parents still have to have the authority. Yes, there is that authority part, but it's really the authority that is for creating meaning and love to protect the child. That kind of authority, and the rules that we create together, so that we can have a happy home, that we can have a happy classroom, that we can have a happy school. And yes, there is time out when we need to think about this. Yeah. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, interesting. And yes, we need to come up to their level in order to understand them. And it was such an interesting session. It was worth attending. I hope that participants also have same feeling. I think so. At the end of the day, it's 10 p.m. in Pakistan, and
Oh,
it's actually sleeping time for most of them. Yes, but still they are here. So this means that your session has they're on the right track, and they are actually leading their lives. They are self-managing that, and they're
good, good,
exactly.
good.
Yes.
Oh, that's so beautiful to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate very, very much what all of you are doing. My first book, The Learning Revolution, it said to change the way the world learns. And that book, in addition of that, is still available in the UK to buy. And some of the older copies are available on Amazon. But yeah, I'm working very hard to get the right publishers for my books right now. All those books that I listed, they're so close to done. And we are now in negotiations with publishers. And so we hope it comes soon. And
Best of luck for that.
thank you. Thank you. And you're welcome to stay in touch.
All right. Okay. So
Thank you so much,
I would
Dr.
like.
Jeannette, for your session. And I am really grateful to Aarti for introducing you to us and insisting that you do a session with us. And we will have a detailed one soon. In August, we'll get in touch with you, and let's see when we can organize one training session for the teachers. So, of my team and everyone who just participated.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to meet you. And I wish you the best for this whole conference. I am so thrilled to know what you're doing. And if you have any pictures of yourselves working on this project, please send me a picture of that, because maybe I can use it in one of my books or one of my workshops and talk about how in Pakistan you are doing this. And it would be great to be able to show the world what you're doing. So a picture of all of you would be wonderful.
Yes, I will share pictures with you on this summit and your session, especially Jeannette. I will share.
Thank you. Thank you. And I would like to for you to share your pictures, the all of you who are bringing this together.
All right. We'll send you your pictures as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Working. If you have a picture of yourselves working, that would be very, very nice. Yeah. It would be good.
All right.
Because,
We'll send you that.
we have to be leaders for each other. We really do. it will encourage other people around the world to do what you're doing. You're not the only ones in crisis. The crisis is everywhere.
For everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to make an announcement here. I have posted the quiz link in the chat box, the quiz form. You need to answer one question related to day one. We are going to have a lucky draw from all the participants who have answered this question, who have attended till here. We'll do it tomorrow, first thing in the morning. Okay, so we'll take out the lucky draw and we will get a prize or